Greg Gutfeld says the reason there's rampant crime all over this country is because of women. Female politicians with their soft on crime policies. And is he joking or is he serious? Uh-oh. It's one of these. Get ready to trigger all of the feminists because we have another story. It's really messed up. We talked about it last night in the members only portion of Timcast IRL, but I think it warrants a main channel segment. Horrifying video shows Winston Tate beating a female cop, Carly Travis, with a hammer as she shrieks in agony and fires shots in desperate fight for her life. Felon flashes his stomach at the judge during $500,000 bail hearing. I gotta wonder. I saw this viral video a long time ago of these three female cops trying to fight some migrant guy who was attacking people. And he mercilessly just beats all three women. And I'm like, anybody who thinks that men and women are the same needs to watch that video, I guess. It's horrifying. So we have an issue, I suppose. An issue that's pretty interesting. It has a lot of ramifications. We are putting women in positions of physical confrontation. But I think people need to understand that perspective on law enforcement is different based on your personal perceptions and what you've experienced. That is saying, in the larger picture, if you are someone who has never experienced crime, you're probably soft on crime. You're going to hear these stories in the news and you're going to say, like, well, they didn't have to shoot the guy. I mean, geez. And then one day you're walking down the street and some dude pulls a gun on you. And then you think to yourself, oh boy, I wish I had a weapon to defend myself. I'm not going to play the video of the woman being beaten because it's too horrifying for YouTube. We had to play it on the members only, uncensored. Like, it is pretty brutal. I mean, she shoots the guy. He's beating her with a hammer. And, the video starts with her responding to some kind of call, and she sees this guy with a hammer. And she says, sir, can you put that down? And he goes, why? And she's like, sir, please put that down. And then he says something like, let's go. And then he runs at her, and she pulls out her gun. It's too late. She's screaming, knocked on the ground, shrieking. She shoots him, apparently, I think more than once. I can't tell. And then he still attacks her. Then he walks away. I think she shoots him again. I'm not sure. If she were to have shot him as he approached her with the hammer, she would be in prison. Yeah. As the guy approached her, there was no threat. He was just walking towards her. If she shot him then, they'd say, it was just a guy who was working. He was hammering a picture in his living room. And he had a hammer in his hand. And she shot him. But because he charged her and cracked her several times with the hammer, now she's not going to go to jail. She just had to get mercilessly beaten with the hammer before shooting the guy to avoid jail time. Here's what Greg Gutfeld said. He said that it's recent spate of looting lies with men being in positions of power. He says, I suggested the solution to a recent spate of lootings lies with men being in power, and that such crimes would simply fade away if women were to vanish from the earth. Ah, yes, we get it. It's a joke. The assertion from the network's most viewed star came in a reaction to a recent incident in LA where 30 thieves, I thought it was 50, on the 5, 2 days after the broad daylight robbery, the Brazen, Gutfeld said such illegal activity isn't discouraged enough and honed in on the city's Democratic mayor, Karen Bass. The mayor on Saturday said the incident was absolutely unacceptable, but Gutfeld said her claims were empty and at odds with policies that he says allow such acts to occur. He went on to declare that smash and grabs, that's what happened, would disappear if women like Bass were removed from their posts. I don't know if that's true, but I do think if you look at the voting data, if only women vote, the country is full Democrat. If only men vote, the country is full Republican. Not like 100%. There's a couple states that deviate, but I think that says a whole lot. Is that it? The Democratic Party is the party of women and the Republican Party is the party of men. It explains a lot. It really does. I think there is something to be said there. On the left, they say masculinity is toxic. They have no definition of good, positive masculinity, and they have no definition of toxic femininity because they are toxically feminine and bringing about chaos and destruction. I think it's that they're isolated and insulated from all of this stuff. There's a video. There's a woman in Portland. I think it was in Portland. She gets bashed in the face with a metal water bottle, presumably full of water, left covered in blood. She said she thought she was going to die. Only then did she decide to switch from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. And boy, isn't that interesting. So, lady, it wasn't when they took over the city and were shooting people It wasn't when Aaron Danielson got shot and killed. You didn't care about any of that. Oh, it is infuriating. I do not believe it is indicative of women. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing of people who have not experienced crime. That's why Democrats have a lot of male voters too. And I wonder if the issue is when there's a big divide, obviously, between rural and conservative. I wonder if a large component is, and not to say that it's not gender-based. I'm sure biological sex does play a role because it plays a role in how you see the world, how you experience the world, and how you think and feel to a certain degree. I mean, hormones are different. But I wonder if a large component is you live out in the middle of nowhere, right? You live out here. What do we have? Well, for one, we have a ton of fruit growing everywhere. It's crazy. The grapes, frost grapes, just everywhere. Pawpaw everywhere. Apples. Oh, man. Food is abundant. And but outside of that, just saying it's different. Outside of that, also you have rot and stuff like that with the fruit. But we have predators, right? We had a bear attack our chicken coop a year and a half or so ago when the chicken coop was in the front of the property. We double layered up the wiring around the chicken coop, and the bear was grabbing and trying to rip at it. Apparently, it climbed onto the porch, was looking around. It was hungry, and that's freaky because normally these things don't come onto your property. But if you grew up in a place like this with bears, male or female, you understand the danger. Typically, a male in a position like this is going to tell the wife to stay inside and stay safe, and they'll take care of it. You have that to a certain degree in cities with burglars. Obviously, the husband's not going to be like, honey, you go deal with this. But there's substantially less danger in that regard. You could be outside. I mean, outside there's a fox. You know, we used to let Mr. Bocus, the cat, go out and do his thing, and a fox tried to get him. I was in the middle of recording, and I see this fox sneaking up, and Bocus just looks at it like he doesn't care, and I'm like, the fox was gaunt looking, probably starved. And I'm like, y'all are about to get into a fight. So I ran full speed out of the house screaming, jumped off the stairs, ran over, and the fox ran off. And I'm like, it's just, you know, and here's Mr. Bocus just sitting there like a moron. And I'm like, oh, whatever. But there are things like that I think you experience growing up out here where you realize there are dangers you must protect against. I think for people who grow up in the city who only now are starting to experience this crime, they didn't perceive that when they were younger. Thus, they enact policies now that lead to this rampant crime. You grow up in a safe place because strong men make good times. Those strong men punish criminals. Well, this leads to a safe environment where people grow up seeing none of the crime, experiencing nothing, and thinking everything's fine. They forget why they had those policies in the first place, and they say, we need to do away with these policies and these awful police. And then crime runs rampant. Now they're going, oh, heavens, help me. Getting bashed in the face with a water bottle, like, I think I'll vote Republican now. I love it because you had these far left extremists smashing things, and this woman still decided to vote Democrat? Yeah, it's insane to me. I've never heard a decent justification. You know, it's funny because I know people who are Democrats who live in Democrat cities, and they'll say things like, crime's getting really bad. You know, we had to move out of our neighborhood. Who'd you vote for? The Democrats. And I'm like, why? I don't care. Don't vote Republican. Just stop voting for the same thing. Look, if you were getting, after 100 years in Chicago, rampant crime and shootings and all this other craziness, at a certain point, you don't got to say it's the Democrats' fault, but you can say this is what they give you, and it's what they give you. And it's just remarkable to me. So I do think biological sex plays a role. I think it's because women experience the world differently. Women are more likely to be protected by the system than men. Women are less likely to experience violent crime in general. Women are less likely to get harsh prison sentences when they commit crimes. And these things lead women to view the world in certain ways. I don't think it is inherently because they're female. I think it's because any person who experienced the world in this way is going to vote for these similar policies. There's a viral video right now where someone goes to Beverly Hills and asks teenagers, how much do you think the average person in this country earns, the average family? And they say, I don't know, 400, 500,000, which is like the 1%. Amazing. They have no idea. And they're male and female. They have no idea. So when it comes to policies, they're going to assume everyone views the world the way they do because they're unlearned and they're unworldly. Which brings me to all this stuff. If you have women who are less likely to be punished and less likely to experience violent crime, but told they're most likely to experience it, here's what happens. Men are 5 times more likely to experience violent crime in the streets. It's fact. Women are then told in media that they're the ones in danger. Women then associate the degree to which they experience violent crime as the pinnacle, the peak. So if they're not being attacked, they assume men aren't either. They also walk around, this is the joke we were talking about last night. Women think every guy is like a CEO. They think every guy is capable of being a CEO. It's insane. Only a small handful of guys ever reach that level. But this is how they view the world. Thus, anyone, male or female, who views the world that way, with a disproportionate amount affecting women, they're going to vote for policies that lead to more crime. So Greg can joke, but there's some truth there. I'll leave it there. The next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Come hang out live, and we'll see you all then.